Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. Happy Monday. It is the Daily Medicine transmission for March 8th, 2021. So I hope everybody had a fabulous weekend, as much as you possibly could have. We're getting into our last quarter now. We're going to have a new moon in Pisces on the 13th. And so the moon is getting darker and darker, closer to her balsamic phase. And she's in Capricorn right now, which means she's going to meet Pluto by the end of today. So today's transmission is titled, it's one of those things that nobody really wants to hear, which is about how loss and disappointment are really the stepping stones to further expansion and growth. And that is absolutely what Pluto, in essence, represents, is kind of the balancing of accounts and the final word on just about everything. And with the moon meeting Pluto today in late Capricorn, we're getting really close now to the United States Pluto return, between 27 and 28 degrees of Capricorn. So we have Pluto is between 26 and 27 degrees Capricorn. So we are really getting close here to this exact moment where it all comes back around in terms of destruction and transformation in terms of the country. But today with the moon, we are each, coming into contact with the aspect that has been traveled consistently over time to get to the pinnacle, the top of the mountain, the everything that is the, how do I want to say this? Everything that we are striving for, right? And the path that has been laid ahead for us is being, destroyed pretty much by Pluto, because there needs to be new pathways developed. There needs to be alternative routes up the mountain that we have never considered before. And this is certainly instigating our growth and expansion. And so when the moon meets Pluto in a transit, regardless of where it is, this is usually a moment where some very deep subconscious feelings and aspects that we didn't even realize were there are coming to the surface to be felt very, very strongly. And sometimes it can be very overwhelming. And with the intuitive reading for today as well, it seems pretty spelled out that we all in our own way are going to face this specific set of disappointment or loss, or just having to come to terms with not getting exactly what we think that we want, or having the rug pulled out from under us in some ways. Now, that may have already happened. That may be happening on a more collective scale. I think that maybe some things that had transpired since the 3rd and the 4th up to this point may point to that as well, in terms of disappointment, expectations not being met. But it's really the deep and subconscious stirrings that we don't even realize are there. And as the moon gets darker, this becomes a lot more difficult to see very clearly. But we will feel it very, very strongly today when the moon does meet Pluto. So I know we're going a little early today. That's because I am, after this, going to be preparing and recording a presentation, actually, for an astrology retreat, a free online astrology retreat that's going to be on the weekend of the equinox. I will get details out when I have them. the best way to stay in touch is actually to go to catalystenergies.net. You can link right from the description box, and right on the front page, there is an option to sign up for the mailing list, and that's where I will keep in touch to let you know when things like this are coming out. And so the topic that I'm going to be presenting on is the role of the starseed in the age of Aquarius. So I'm really excited about that, and I need to get that prepared and also recorded so I can send it off. So I'm just a little early today, but if you're watching on BitChute, it doesn't matter because I'm just recording anyway. So, but let's get right into it. Let's look at some astrology for today. I did already post the weekly astrology leading up to the new moon, so you can check that out as well, either on BitChute or YouTube. It is very accessible from either of those platforms. If you just are on the channel, you can just scroll down to the new moon and the fourth lunar quarter, because as I had said in that, it's very Neptunian, and there's a lot of Pisces energy, and our sense of identity, our sense of boundaries is continuing to dissolve during this Pisces time. And that's what Neptune does, is the great dissolver. And so one thing I talked about is the Sun and Neptune coming into a conjunction this week. And so depending on how firm you are in your own position. Are you grounded? Are you anchored into who you are and what you're here to do? Especially starseed and wanderer and lightworker, because it is when all of these other traditional pathways that we have followed in the past are taken away from us that we have to really anchor down and find a grounding cord that we may not have ever even considered before, in order to give us the strength and the courage and the insight to be able to see a different pathway. And today specifically, it feels like giving ourselves some space to accept what is being taken away, or what is going away in our lives, what aspects are coming to the surface with the moon and Pluto today that we are coming to terms with, some very deep feelings, some subconscious stirrings that we had not even considered until the moon and Pluto come together. And in the end, it is just another cycle, and the destruction paves the way for new growth. And as we are in Pisces time, this is exactly what is happening in terms of getting ready to consolidate everything and bring it into the new cycle. We want to make sure that we know what our trajectory is, and what our role is, and our dharma, specifically when we come into the equinox. And this new moon that's coming beforehand, which is also when Mercury comes out of shadow in this same basic time, and then the Ides of March, which is the settling of debts. We want to make sure that we know what our dharma is, and that we are secure and clear about that, and it influences us and feeds us so that we can come into the next cycle refreshed and ready to create something new. But in the meantime, today, as the moon is darker, we're in the last quarter, meeting Pluto, yada, yada, yada. There's just some really intense feelings that are surfacing that we are just going to have to face, and we're going to have to address loss and disappointment on some level. And this is, again, why it's important to understand your chart, because you find out where 27 degrees Capricorn is, and you'll have a good idea of what area of your life this is happening. So lots to consider today. So let's look at the astrology real quick, just to, see what's going on here, just to have a visual frame of reference. So we got this queued up for today. It is March 8th, 2021. Like I said, the moon is in Capricorn. We'll be in Capricorn all day. So one of the things I want to point out, though, is that there are sextiles, 60-degree angle between the Capricorn moon and the sun and Neptune in Pisces. And Capricorn moon certainly gives us a sense of responsibility and kind of buckling down a little bit, taking our emotional and intuitive life more seriously. It's more goal-oriented and focused. It's a little bit more serious emotionally. And if you get too serious, this is where we kind of start to slip in possibly into getting caught up in the loss, right? Because Capricorn is about the material aspect. And when you meet Pluto like that, not only is there an incredible surge of power from the subconscious that becomes really obvious to us, we're also talking about everything that has been built as a result of our collective process that gives us a sense of structure and form, and having that kind of dissolve away and having to emotionally come to terms with that. So one of the things here with this sextile today with the Pisces Sun and Neptune, and even with Venus yesterday as well, is that if we are able to, again, discipline ourselves emotionally, if we can kind of step up into a sense of responsibility for what we create through our emotional state, through our focus, right? We can, if we take some responsibility on a personal level here, then we will be able to really tap into the much larger field of potential that Pisces represents. But it does require that we are kind of not only disciplined, but very focused and goal-oriented when it comes to where we are projecting our emotions, rather than being feeling victimized, I guess is the best way to put it, when we are faced with situations that appear to be disappointment and loss. Because if we can see the bigger picture here, that there's always something to create from this situation, then we can direct the flow of our attention and our emotional energy towards the goals, the overall goal. And Pisces is a beautiful opportunity for inspiration, to connect into universal love and compassion for ourselves and other people. And it's about being inspired. It's everything and anything is possible in this realm. But we have to surrender to that and trust that process in order to get that inspiration from it. And again, it does require that we do not let our emotions just also dissolve into everything completely and lose sight of what we are doing. And this will Pluto is going to make this difficult today. It's a very intense feeling, but there's a lot to be gained from this situation today. There are specific things that are happening in the cultural and social context today that really could trigger a lot of stuff. So just keep that in mind as well. So you got Venus in Pisces as well, and is in a direct opposition to Vesta, asteroid Vesta, which is over here in Virgo. And there definitely is a sense here, and also Mercury in Aquarius is in a sextile to Juno, in asteroid Juno in Sagittarius, representing our loyalty and our commitment to people and situations. Juno is a wife of Zeus, right? And so despite his behavior, she was committed, and they were committed to each other, for better or worse, right? And so, but there is this sense here today that Venus is very good at subtlety, and there is a sense at 14 degrees Pisces specifically is about using our mental and intellectual prowess and this cleverness to kind of protect and shield ourselves. There is a strong feeling of wanting to protect and shield ourselves from what we don't really want to experience, but will inevitably experience anyway. And there is a way, the opposition to Vesta here, right? Vesta is the flame of the hearth. It is the spark of life that gives everybody in the community heat and light and a sense of renewal. If we can really tap more into this root power that Virgo represents, I think we won't have to necessarily shield ourselves entirely, but we also want to identify that there have been many that have come before us that have allowed for us to tap into this root power and to tap into our ancestral lineage, our family tree, however you want to identify it, as a way to sustain us, as a way to, again, really anchor ourselves into something substantial, as opposed to just trying to protect ourselves from the inevitable feeling that we are likely to have on some level today. So let's look at the reading as well, because I think that once we start to get this imagery, we'll see that there is a lot going on here. So here we go. So today's reading, specifically, we do have a lot of earth energy. We have that works card, the 3 of discs, at the heart of the reading today. There's been so much repression and oppression and a forcing down of our creative spark and our fire. I mean, that goes without saying. That's been the case for a while. But there's likely to be some evidence of progress today, something that will give us a sense of like we are on the right path, despite all of the other aspects outside of us that are going to feel like loss or feel like disappointment or feel like frustration or whatever it is. We got the 2 of keys here in the top of our awareness. This is always about a great loss or disappointment that forces us to acknowledge that the real treasure is within us, but you have to go through that process to even get there. 2 of keys, 2 of discs in the same reading. There will be change, organic, harmonious change that's coming out of this situation today. The bird's nest is, this creating space for expansion. This is where our personal power is rooted here. And there's some interesting guidance that I want to go over specifically. So let's look at all of these things at once. The 10 of Wands, Saturn in Sagittarius. Saturn in Aquarius right now is in a very, very challenging position in Aquarius. Now, Saturn is very powerful in Aquarius. It had been the ruler of Aquarius to begin with. And so it's the Lord of Time and Karma is very strong with Aquarius as well as it is with Capricorn, because we still have to have some level of structure and organization to Aquarius is where we realize the star of our destiny, of our mission, right? Capricorn is that matrix unfolding. It is the fractal unfolding. Aquarius is the energy that propels that, and it can only be realized through a collective arrangement, right? It's not in a vacuum. These fractals are all nodal points that unfold into a beautiful form, but it has to be within this collective sense that it even makes sense to have. Otherwise, it's like I said, nothing exists in a vacuum. So Saturn is already very powerful in Aquarius, and it's at a position as we're going into the second decan, right, of realizing that we need to start addressing people as actual people and not screens that we project our ideals onto. And with Saturn, this is a very heavy boundary. Like I said, karma and the Lord of Time. We are bumping up against reality in a way that maybe some people are struggling with more than others, and this will become very emotional today. So coming into the moment has been this oppression, and in a way that we've been really struggling to find some light from this situation. It's just been a consistent pushing down for selfish ends, for material ends, and it's excessive. And there's lots of different situations that you can point to that are representative of this energy, of this unnecessary but very excessive pressure, aggressive pressure on the fire of our creative spark, right? This is the friction. Sagittarius is the friction fire that allows for alchemy. And when you have the 10 like this, it is indicative that the cycle has completed and is ready to flip back over. But we are not learning anything from this cycle. We're just consistently being pushed down, coming into the moment, which is, of course, beyond frustrating and really demoralizing. I mean, this, I think, is very demoralizing because you can't really create anything substantial when that fire is pushed down. But that's also the other side of it, is that eventually you do have to come into form from this understanding. What's the point of this understanding if it doesn't actually come into form? The problem is that the form is the Saturn has just been so oppressive that we're not actually creating something new, or seemingly. So coming into the moment is this demoralizing oppression. That's pretty clear. But there is a sense of progress that is at the heart of the moment today. Mars in Capricorn, Mars loves to be in Capricorn, right? It's industrious, it gets shit done, right? You can really put your energy into this process. And so there is a crystallization and progress and manifestation, and it's very balanced. It's the 3, right? And it is movement with Mars behind it, and like I said, progress. It is showing that there is something to be said for what's happening. And despite all of what may seem like a loss, at the heart of things today, it actually, if we can change our perspective, we can see that it's more of an example of actual progress as opposed to losing anything. Now, our attention is paid on what we're losing. The 2 of Keys is the great loss, the disappointment, and everything being overturned, right? And being again demoralized, being shocked and appalled and dismayed. But it shows, as you see here, the light above this person. You see there's a little chest here that when it's cracked open, this light is like pouring out. This is right away showing us that the real treasure is within us. And so when you focus on what you don't have, then you're just perpetuating that victimization and a sense of emptiness. And there's a real focus here today. This is where our conscious mind is. And so we have this chance here to see this as the treasure if we can get past the demoralizing and oppressive aspect. And again, at the heart of things, we do see some progress here, even in the loss. The loss of something is in itself progress of an oscillating cycle. This concept is coming up so much about the oscillation, the time, the wave function, the contraction and release constantly throughout all of our experiences. And so even in the loss, that is the precursor to the gain. And so even with our attention here on what we're losing, or what we've lost, know it's temporary. And again, it's about where we focus our attention and our emotional energy and not getting caught up in this part. Not to say that let your feelings be your feelings. And if you need to feel this way, let it out. But if you stay here, this is where you don't see the progress, right? This is where you get stuck here. So where can we root here? Well, the 3 of Forces is the bird's nest. This is about focusing on creativity and expansion, right? Focus on starting new things. If something is lost to you, if something is disappointing you, if you are just not feeling it, and there has, again, the demoralizing oppression has been significant. And if we can root into this, right, this is where our personal power is, our subconscious energetic root into expansion. Creating a space for new energy to come in, right? We can't do that without losing something or having something even be empty to begin with, right? A bowl is most useful when it's empty. That's a very Taoist thing, right? And so we want to create a space for expansion. 3 of Forces, another 3. We have the 3 of Discs and now the 3 of Forces. There's some balanced energy. There is a sense of structural form here that gives us, something to look at and be like, oh yes. So at the root of things, making room for expansion, making room for something new to come in, can really be a very important anchor today. And it does require us to do something, right? The forces are that fire energy. And there is change. Again, 2 of Discs. There's change, harmonious change. There's always the contraction and release. There's always the oscillation. There's always the wave function that is up and down, right? The yin and the yang constantly in interplay. It's coming. And as long as we see that some progress, right, which it is there for us if we choose to see it, then we will understand that this is part of a much larger wave function. However you want to look at it, time, energy, whatever. It is a wave function that is always in motion, and it is harmonious. And the only constant in the universe is this change. And it's when we align with it, when we flow with it, and when we don't resist it, then we are able to change with it very fluidly and feel like we are part of this bigger picture. Okay, so there is some guidance here for areas of struggle. Number one, the initiation in the Count Saint Germain, right? This is this loss that we're feeling, with the moon coming to meet Pluto today like this. This is really, again, about the initiation into the highest version of ourselves. So we are letting go of the old, letting go of the aspects that aren't working for us anymore, letting go of the old pathways. You can even feel like that they're neural pathways, if that makes sense to you, or actual pathways of how you move through your life. It's time to let them go, so that you can rise up into the next iteration of yourself, at a higher RPM, higher frequency. That's literally, violet light is the highest frequency of light in the visible light spectrum. That's why it's the crown chakra. There's seven chakras. There's 7 colors within the visible light spectrum. Yes. I mean, there's way more to this than that. That's not for this transmission. The idea is that if you're struggling with that, realizing what is within you, you're struggling with the loss and the disappointment, just, realize that it's part of this initiation process. We have to let go of these lower density aspects of ourselves and our lives in order to come into the highest version. When we're at the highest version, then we create the reality that we all want to be in, that is based on peace and compassion and universal love and everybody's needs being taken care of, right? This is an initiation process, and this is not the first time this has come up, so this is not new. And also, now the dog hasn't come out I don't know if it hasn't come out in a really long time. The dog, your loyalty and your faithfulness are misplaced by serving too many masters. Ooh, where is your loyalty and your faithfulness? Where is that applied to, right? Because a dog is the prime characterization of the empath, right? And loyalty and faithfulness. They are unconditional love and service. And it's they're amazing creatures and amazing to have as companions, because they show us how to be that way. The thing is, if you are serving too many masters, right? If you are serving, for instance, the old paradigms that you're used to, if you are giving your attention away to other people's conceptions of reality or other people's interpretation of reality, again, you are kind of leaking energy all over the place. And perhaps it is this misplaced loyalty that will lead to the disruption that will put you on blast so that you realize, it's all within me. Nobody else is going to pave the way for each individual to find their center. And so who are you loyal to? Where is your faithfulness really directed at? Is it to your spiritual path? Is it to God? Is it divine source? Or is it to other human beings that claim to have your best interest, but really it's oh boy. Yeah, we gotta get more disciplined, basically. There's that moon in Capricorn. We have to get more disciplined about where we are putting our faith and putting our loyalty and giving our energy away to. And if we are mindful of that, we can, again, see this loss as an initiation into something higher. But this is a really, really good focus here. Now, when it comes to the bird's nest, there's two aspects here. Number one, the goose, right? Take time to rest and recuperate rather than continuing your striving, right? Now, there is a certain amount of energy that does need to go into expanding this container, right? Expansion and creativity. You have to do something in order to create this space. Now, you could also be very, I don't want to say passive, but if you're aligned correctly, you can let the energy of, the situations around you and in your life do that work as well by taking out something and then creating an open space. This is suggesting here, just take a step back, right? Take a step back and rest instead of continuing to try to hike up this mountain, because the reality is that that pathway is going to be wiped away by Pluto, and we are going to become very aware of that today when the moon meets Pluto. Sometime by the end of the day, it's going to be very obvious, and it's going to come up in a lot of different, very intense emotional ways for people that that pathway is not available to us anymore. And it's because it's time to create something new. But we can't keep doing that by striving and striving and striving. And along with that is the Ascent. And it's reversed. It's the same. It's giving us the same message, basically, that there's failure, there's a fall from grace, right? That we are putting in efforts that aren't paying off, and it's time to think about a different approach up the mountain. I can't stress this enough because of the symbolic connection to the astrology today, the moon, Pluto, and then this card showing up. It's time to consider a new approach and maybe to stop trying to get up a mountain pass that is a storm's going to come in and just totally, force us into a retreat or force us into finding a different pathway or force us to just create space in general. But either way, what we're doing is probably not entirely working, either individually or collectively, and we need a new place to plant our flag, right? And so we can let the momentum of the larger energetic wave function that the astrology represents, we can allow that to come in, we can invite it to come in and do kind of the work for us and sit. And this is not about being passive. This is about sitting back and aligning with the wave function rather than trying to force anything against it and being very dissonant. But either way, there's so much here today that suggests that much is going to come to the surface that is about clearing the pathway, clearing the palette, right? Just blank slating some things, and the emotional reaction to that will be very strong. But if we can see this as an opportunity for something new to come in, which is what Pluto really represents, we will be in okay shape as this week continues on, because it is going to be about this particular being able to anchor in to this whole process that is going to allow us to be very divinely inspired when the sun meets Neptune in just a couple of days, which is, let's see here, is on the 10th. So it's only 2 days from now. So we have some difficulties to interact with right now, but if we can do this gracefully and see the potential here, then the inspiration, the divine inspiration that we could experience this week is substantial. Now, Venus is going to square the nodes tomorrow, just like the sun did on Friday in that third quarter square. That was again much more. It's the same degree, right? Where it's about being quiet and being in seclusion in some ways, allowing the inspiration to flow in because it's not all filled up with all of the chatter in the realm of the mind. So Venus is going to come along and make that even more palpable, making us more sensitive to it, having it come out in our material reality, and our relationships. And so be mindful of that. That's tomorrow as well. And so today is going to be very interesting. I'm curious. I mean, I definitely woke up in a certain emotional frame of mind that really challenged me to take this advice as well in this guidance. So I'm happy to give it because I need it too. And we all, we're all doing this the best we can, and we're all engaging in things exactly as we need to in order for our soul to grow, because that's really what this is all about. And the soul of humanity as well is growing as well. So thanks for being here, everybody. I really appreciate each and every one of you. If you are interested in booking energy work or a reading, you can go to catalystenergies.net. Definitely sign up for the mailing list so you can know when the details for that astrology retreat. It's free, by the way, and there's going to be lots of presenters. So that's a really good opportunity to engage with a lot of different people in a space like that over the equinox weekend. And come connect with us on Facebook and Telegram. And if you would be so kind as to subscribe, hit the like button, especially on BitChute. I get a lot more traction there, and the more people can subscribe and hit the like button, the better it is for me. And of course, YouTube, if that's your jam. It'd be great if you subscribe and hit the like button there too, because it really helps all around for independent content creators like myself. So have a wonderful day. Please take very good care of yourself. Reach out if you need support or you want to know how these energies are impacting your soul's growth and unique blueprint through an astrology reading. And I'll see you guys tomorrow on the Tuesday's Daily Medicine transmission. Love you. Bye.